Hello everybody and welcome back to another video here today on RJ's Trains. Today we're going to be looking at the MTH Railking ES44 AC CSX number 911 honoring our first responders unit and my other first responders freight cars. So let's jump into the video. Now, one interesting thing about CSX 911 is that I've actually seen this unit in person twice. The first was when it was on its way up to the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum in Baltimore, Maryland for a special First Responders Day on September 12th, 2020. And so I got to see it pass through LaFont Plaza, which you're seeing here, which is in Washington, D.C. And then on September 12th, I went up to the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum with my friend Joe, and I met Stephen Colferl, and link to his channel is up in the right-hand corner. And we had a fantastic day, and I even got to step on the back step of 911. So having that personal connection with the locomotive, I knew I had to pick this up. So as I previously stated, this is the MTH Railking version. It has Proto Sound 3, LED lights, smoke, the whole 9 yards. And just looking over some of the features here on the front of the locomotive, I love the snowplow, which is accurate. It has the red and white stripes. It's just beautiful. The red and white paint scheme is just stunning on this locomotive. Looking at the side of the cab of the locomotive, you have the road number 911 with the CSX lightning bolt underneath it, which is really nice. And then up towards the front, you have the Spirit of First Responder script on the side, which is accurate to the locomotive. And also something that's interesting that you don't see on other CSX locomotives is this lightning white stripe along the side of the locomotive, and it's really sharp. Moving down the side of the locomotive, we have a CSX Pride in Service logo, along with the logos for the EMS, police, and fire departments. Now, in the real CSX 911, there are also some charity logos that are on the side of the locomotive, but MTH didn't get the rights to put that on the locomotive. So if you really want to be nitty and gritty about the details, the Lionel one has the charity logos on the side, but that doesn't bother me. And similarly, right next to the EMS logo is the number 343. And for those of you who may not know, 343 symbolizes the number of firemen who died on 9/11 in New York City. Being from a household with the firemen in New York, I grew up with a great appreciation and understanding for those who made the ultimate sacrifice on 9/11. So that's another reason why this locomotive truly stands out to me. Now, moving towards the back half of the locomotive, you have the honoring our first responders in nice big letters up on the grill, and it looks really sharp, and you get a better view of the lightning stripe, and these black grills really stand out here against the red and white background. And on the back of the locomotive, we have a nice 9/11 tribute on the back of the grill. Never forget, and then on the top it says New York City, and then bottom left says Washington, D.C., and bottom right is Somerset County, Pennsylvania, where Flight 93 went down. Up on the top of the locomotive here, you can see some details. It's kind of hard to pick up, but on top of the cab, you have some radio antennas. You also have the horn halfway through, and then the smokestack there on the back. Now, the grills on the back of the locomotive are removable and are held down by those 4 magnets that you see there. And here is where you access all the different settings. So you can switch it from DCS to DCC. You can control the smoke output, and you can control the volume of the sounds on the locomotive. Overall, it is a beautiful locomotive, and by far my favorite feature of the locomotive is the paint scheme. MTH nailed the colors, the inclusion of the 343 on the side, and the 9/11 tribute on the back of the grill. It just knocks it out of the park for me, and this is going to be a treasured piece in my collection for a very long time. So now, real quick, moving through some of the freight cars that I have to go along with number 911. First up is this MTH Railking boxcar, which is painted up to match the locomotive. Now, CSX doesn't actually have a boxcar like this. It's just a fantasy paint scheme. But it's really nice, it has the 911 there on the door, along with the EMS, police, and fire department logos. And once again, that 343 on the top right-hand corner. Beautiful boxcar. Next up is another MTH Railking boxcar. This one is painted up for Rescue 2, which is the New York City Fire Department's rescue company stationed in Brooklyn. And on the left-hand side, zooming in here, is a nice 911 tribute. Next up is another Rescue 2 freight car. This one is a fire equipment car. They can put the fire out from the railroad tracks using this car. And up on top, we have some real nice details, especially the hose there, nice molded in detail, and the nozzle moves around in a 360-degree angle, so you can move the nozzle to point it at a fire on your layout. Next up is another MTH Railking boxcar. This one is a New York Fire Department boxcar, not branded for Fidney, but still really nice, very quality boxcar, and looks right at home along with all of these other freight cars. Next up is an older MTH Railking flat car. This one has some 1950s era Chiefs cars on it, and really nice car. Next up is another MTH Railking flat car. This one came with a 1/64th scale fire truck, but I took that off and put on this a little bit more accurate, has a lot more finer details, Fidney pumper, and it fits perfectly on the flat car, and once again, really nice addition to the collection. And last but not least, what would be a proper train without a caboose? And once again, we have a CSX 911 inspired caboose. It even has a red taillight on both ends of the caboose, and a nice interior detailed with a couple of figures. That wraps up the first responders train. Now, let's fire this thing up and get it running around the layout.
Topped off.